Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is smoked suckling pig. Well, today we're cooking up a whole hog, a 30-pound suckling pig on the Yoder Smoker's pellet grill. We're gonna be cooking it in the racing style, which just means that it sits kind of in a prone position rather than all butterflied out. Now, the great thing about this, it's super simple and gives you incredibly juicy pork. It may seem intimidating from the outside, but once we walk you through some of the tips and techniques, I think you guys will be ready to tackle this at home. So here we have our suckling pig. It's sitting in that racing or running style that we talked about. But what we're gonna do to get this started is we got to do a little bit of trimming on the inside. So when you're cooking a hog like this, you really don't have a lot of opportunity to get seasoning onto the meat. So anywhere we do have that opportunity, we wanna make sure that we can clean this up, get rid of any of this stringy stuff, any of the stuff that we don't wanna eat, so that we can expose the meat and get some seasoning in there. And at the same time, we're also gonna be injecting into our hams. Honestly, anywhere that we can get our injection needle into this, we're gonna be doing that. So I might also just cut away a little bit of this skin just to expose a little bit more of those hams on the back. And that way we can get a little bit more seasoning right there. So we can kind of take that first layer off so we can get down to the meat to get the seasoning right onto the flesh. Again, just taking a little bit of that skin off to expose some more of the hams. We get underneath that first layer of kind of chewy stuff. And then we kind of work our way up toward the belly. Now this would be the belly meat here. You can see all of that skin. That's the same stuff you pull off the back of your baby back ribs right there. So we're gonna try and take that layer off just so we can get that rub through there. Plus you're not gonna eat that, you know. So just keep your knife really close to that membrane. Try not to take off any muscle with it. This is a little guy, so we want to save as much of that muscle as possible. Yeah, now we got that belly meat exposed so we can get our rub right in there. So up here at the head end of the pig, we've kind of got our shoulders. This is kind of the picnic end of the shoulder there. We'll see if we can just cut back a little bit of that skin as well. Again, just to get a little bit of seasoning on the shoulder end. All right, so now we're gonna have some access to the shoulders. Not a lot of extra, but it's probably worth the effort. We're gonna do plenty of injecting up here as well. Now up here at this end, you'll see this is where the jowl is. That's gonna be some really good eating once we pull this thing apart. And here in that whole kind of jowl neck area, there's just so many of these glands. You know, some of you will say, I'm not messing with that, just put the whole pig on the grill and cook it already, and some of you will say, I don't want to see that later. So if you want to take it out, take it out. If you want to leave it, leave it. You can work around it later. So now the ribs, they still have that membrane on the back, but I'm not even going to worry about taking that off because a pig this size, everything that we're going to be picking from is from the outside. We're going to peel the skin off, and that meat's just going to fall off the outside of the bones. Otherwise, though, we've got this really nicely cleaned up. Some bellies exposed. You can see the tenderloins here down into the hams. So I feel really good about this. Let's mix up some injection and get started with that process. Well, let's talk about injections real quick. So there's a lot of things you can inject with, but the general idea is you want to add flavor and moisture. Now, moisture is not quite as important with the cook that we're doing today because this pork is going to be moist. It's completely enclosed in fat and skin that's going to render down as the meat cooks. Everything from the loins to the hams are going to be nice and moist, but we want to also be able to add some flavor in there. So you can use just about anything. Apple juice is a great option. I've injected a brine mixture before. If you pineapple juice, soy sauce, all kinds of stuff that go great. Today we're going to be using two products, our Smoke on Wheels pork marinade and injection, just kind of a go-to, and then we're going to cut it with a little bit of a vinegar sauce, the Tar Heel Tang. So these two things together, you've got apple juice base, you've got soy sauce, you've got the vinegar from the vinegar barbecue sauce. It's a lot of flavors, but that's what we want to do when we have so few opportunities to add extra flavor to this meat. And we're gonna do 2 parts of the smoke on wheels to 1 part of the Tar Heel tang. And I wanna end up with about 2 cups of injection total. So that means we'll go 1 1/3 on the smoking wheels and 2/3 cup on the Tar Heel tang, which really I can just top off. We give that a shake. So now we've got kind of a salty, tangy, slightly sweet mixture. And before we load this into our injector, give it a quick strain to get out those chili flakes from the Tar Heel tang. As I've learned the hard way, they will clog up the injector. All right. So we're starting right here in the ham. Gonna poke around, make a little pocket, just pump that up. I'm basically just gonna work all the way around these muscles, adding injection anywhere where our needle will fit in there. We'll load up both of these hams and then start working our way forward. And you can work your way all the way to the skin side, just try to be careful not to penetrate the actual skin. Gonna work our way up to these tenderloins now, all the way to the skin side. Remember, you don't have to pump this entire thing up. In fact, you don't have to pump it up at all, but if we're gonna do it, we might as well do it, right? Now we're working our way to the front of the animal, headed up to the shoulders. If we can get this in the right position, you can almost see it pumping up on this side as well. Right there. So I ended up using about 1.5 cups of injection total. At this point, we want to wipe off the excess off the surface and get it seasoned up so we can get it on the smoker. And we're going to season this up with our Plowboys Yardbird rub. Yardbird and smoke on wheels pork, kind of a classic combination around here with great Kansas City flavors. And the idea here is just to get every bit of surface covered with our rub. Not going to get much through the back of the ribs, so we can kind of skip up to the head. All right, I think we've done what we can do. Let's get this thing over to the smoker. So today we're smoking on the Yoder Smokers YS640S pellet grill. We're running at 250 degrees with hickory pellets. The second shelf is removed, so we've got all the space we need inside. So we're gonna start off with the hams over the firebox. Set this guy upright in that racing style. Might clean up the skin just a little bit here. Now typically I'd tell you the drier the skin the better, and that's true when you're trying to render skin. But for this method, what we're doing today with the smoking, the skin's not so much there to consume as it is there to capture all the fat and moisture inside and make sure all that meat cooks to the most tender doneness. Now for presentation's sake, we're gonna foil up the snout and the ears, make sure that they don't burn. And for now, there's nothing more to do than to just let it begin to smoke. Now in order to monitor the cook, I'm going to go ahead and stick a couple probes in here. Do one kind of in the deepest part of that shoulder meat. And make sure that we're not on top of a bone. And we'll do one back here in the hams. Again, making sure you're not on a bone. But the pig's been smoking away for 2 hours and 45 minutes right now. Our hams are sitting at 150, our shoulders are at 120, so about a 30-degree difference has happened there because of those hams being over the firebox. So at this point, we're gonna flip it around so that they can kind of even out. We're gonna try and hit about 195 in both ends as a finishing temperature. You can see we're getting a really pretty golden color on the skin here. We're gonna go ahead and just turn this 90 degrees. Put those shoulders over that fire, let the hams mellow out a little bit more. Before I get these probes back in here, just for a nice little shine, we're gonna hit the surface with some fat. This just happens to be sprayed duck fat, but any kind of fat will work. And that's gonna help with the shine and with the brown. Try to get those probes right back where they were. Yeah, temperature's dead on where it was. Perfect. All right, we'll close it back up and let it smoke. Well, the pig's been on for 7 hours total now, and we're coming up to 195 both in the hams and the shoulders. We did have to rotate one more time to just make sure that those hams and shoulders were staying even, but at this point, we're ready to pull the pig off. Well, as you can see, we've got a beautiful color on it. Skin's kind of crisped up there. These are really moving now because they are ready to just fall apart. This pig is ready for picking. We've given the pig about 30 minutes to rest. Now we're ready to cut into it. So I'll show you how we're gonna do this. So essentially what we wanna do is cut right along the side of the spine here. And then we're gonna cut ourselves a flap. We'll be able to fold this down and start picking the meat out of there. Got that rear leg kind of getting in my way, so I'm gonna kick that out. There we go. And then you can kind of just start peeling this meat off of here, shredding it up. Now what you have up here at the top, this is the loin. We talked about that earlier. And what a struggle it could be to keep your loin nice and juicy when you consider that you have to cook the hams to 195 degrees. These essentially be little pork chops. Still plenty tender. And plenty juicy. So you can see the ribs exposed here now. Means we're taking basically what would be the back meat off the ribs there, and then down here, that's our belly. And where we'd see the spare ribs. And that stuff just kind of shreds out of there. So we'll come a little bit further forward here, up to where our shoulders are. And there's where you get your traditional pulled pork from. Not necessarily, well, it's pretty close to like a pulling stage, maybe just a little bit shy of it. Again, at that 195. So there's your little blade bone that you guys are used to seeing pulling out of your pork butts. So a little bit lower there. That's your picnic ham pork. You see that it's got some injection still in it. We'll go ahead and clean that whole shoulder bone. So we're just gonna hit this with a little bit more of that Tar Heel tang. Not a lot, just enough to kind of enhance those already porky flavors. And that right there, that's some of that belly meat. That's some of the best meat on the pig. Unreal. I mean, you really just get the juiciest, most moist product this way because it's fully encased in all that fat and all that skin. But while we're at it, I'm going to show you just some of my favorite meat on this, even beyond the belly. Look up here in this jowl. Just look at that stuff. It looks like velvet, the way that comes out of there. And even this stuff right here stuck to our crunchy cheek skin. Look at that. Incredible. That little oyster right there comes out of the cheek. That's the bite. That one right there. It's just gone. It just melts in your mouth. And you know, there's not a lot of salt in there. There's not a lot of extra seasoning. So what you're tasting, pure porkiness. And it's delicious. You don't even miss it that much. Pretty incredible little technique. These suckling pigs, they have a lot to offer. They're so tender at this young age. So juicy and flavorful. The really cool little project that hopefully you guys feel like, that wasn't so bad, I can definitely tackle that at home. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.